start it off?
I mean, you can.
All right. Welcome to the show, everyone. This is our first taping of the
We don't have a name.
Be named
Yeah, we don't have a name.
DN Studios podcast. Right?
Yeah, Virtual Production Insider
Virtual Production Insider.
was already taken.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's a great name.
Damn it. Well, we're in studio today with Adam Standen and myself, Carson Norgard.
Yeah.
We're about to show you a breakdown of one of the current projects that we just did.
Yeah, so it's a MacBook Pro Parody commercial. And I don't know if you can kind of see it, but we've got two laptops here, and I'm very much a Android and PC guy. And Carson, I wouldn't necessarily say you're an Apple guy, but I mean, you do have a MacBook and an iPhone.
I've had this MacBook for many years.
So we wanted to challenge ourselves. We're in a virtual production studio with a giant LED wall behind us, obviously. And we wanted to challenge ourselves and, what can three guys, Mitch, who's not here right now, but there's three of us here, but what can three guys in an afternoon with an LED wall do? One of the things with virtual production is that it can be very quick. You're achieving a lot of what we call in-camera VFX, so it cuts down post-production quite a bit, but then also working with, a live virtual background that you can edit and manipulate real time allows us to make those changes very quickly, and we can really dial in the look that we want. So, I mean, really, we spent like an afternoon on making this parody.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of the decisions, what was interesting to me about what we did is a lot of the decisions we made were on the fly. Like we didn't do a lot of pre-production with this,
Right.
like intentionally, like it was to test that out, to show, can we just spitball an idea for an afternoon and make something cool and high quality,
Right. I didn't have a specific shot list in mind. I did have some intentional shots that I knew I wanted to do. And I had a little bit of a script put together.
Yeah.
And there were some graphic assets that I put together before the shoot. So we did go into with at least some thought into it. But really we kind of did do it on the fly and kind of played with it. We, figured out the lighting right there on the spot.
Yeah.
Figured out the framing, the shot blocking right there on the spot. And why don't we stop kind of talking about it for a second? Why don't we play it and show them what we're talking about? So here comes the track. Let's see here. Still getting new to this whole switching thing.
Introducing
We'll just blame it on the producer,
all-new
Mitch.
MacBook Pro, reimagined, reinvented,
Mitch hasn't figured this
reduced
stuff out
to
yet.
the absolute minimum. We've removed every unnecessary detail, like ports, or storage, or charging. Because true minimalism
That's why we
isn't
don't
about
give
having
you that.
less, it's about having nothing. Featuring cloud-only storage for just $59.99 a month. Serious performance for serious designers. With the tap of AI+, your vision becomes AI's better vision. So you can focus on being you. The all-new MacBook Pro. The future of less.
Yeah. Dumb.
All right, so that was our MacBook Pro parody commercial. Again, it's just a parody. We're not affiliated or
It's not an actual product.
it's not an actual Apple commercial
Unfortunately.
or representation. So Apple, don't sue us,
We cannot be that cool.
right? I'll bring it back up real quick though. Let me scrub through it. We can kind of talk about some of the stuff. Let's see here. Let's go back. Hope we lost our background for a quick second. And then I want to just turn the audio off. Let's let me take the audio away.
Yeah.
And then let's enable that in the background. Okay. All right, so we should have that up there on the screen now. So let's talk about how we did this. Okay.
Okay.
I'm just gonna play it on a loop in the background for us. So we wanted this high-rise junior executive office, in a downtown setting with a sunset style background. very, I don't know. We just tried to make
Warm,
it look good.
bright.
Yeah.
That was my intention with it going into it. Like, I was like, what can we do to, like, what vision do I have for this as a cinematographer? What am I going to pull it on my butt here in an hour? And, I thought, like, let's lean into that, like, high rise, like, end of day, very warm. And I was like, one thing I think that works really well with virtual production is these backlights, right? Like, kind of having a hard backlight. And a trend I see in the industry right now of, like, cinematography is like seeing the source. Like, you see a light source out a window just beaming through, right? Well, with virtual production, that kind of acts as a layer. And I like that look. And I wanted to give that tone of, like, this bright feeling of, like, and seeing the flares. And so I was thinking, okay, can we set that up so their scene has a sun over his shoulder, piercing in, so it feels like it's coming right in through that window. And we did that with, in virtual production. And how I emulated that is by using another light, with a Leica on the back, an attachment, and, like, flaring that thing so it also backlights him. It serves as, like, another layer of blending in virtual production to create the scene, so it becomes more than just wall and subject, right?
Right.
So.
I mean, much like in, like, on-set location, on-location shoots, like, lighting is everything.
Yeah.
And it's no different here in a virtual production studio. But what's great about what we do with, seeing it in camera is we can control the position of the sun.
Right. And being intentional with it. Because out on location, like, these are the things I would consider out on location, but you have to, like, consider those things and just adapt to them. Versus in the studio here, what we did was I was able to lean into that and said, hey, this is something that I can control. Can we use that as an element for the telling of this, to heighten the storytelling of this? So yeah, we use it as a storytelling device, by making it, by using that flare as a character in the story is what I was intending to do. So, and it in my opinion, it worked. That's why you see it right in the corner there, some of that, because it was intentional. And
there's just no way that, like, we could have done this practically without virtual production. I mean, you think about this, like, to do this practically, like, we would have had to have scouted a location. We would have had to have, rented it out, and then gotten there at the perfect time of day.
Yeah.
And then hope that the room that we found is also, like, facing the correct way with the sun. So with how it sets.
I've shot that scene before 100 times on location. Someone in their office in front of a window. There's no way you'd ever get that time of day, that lighting. You would never get that exposure to work like that. You would never get, the clouds to look like that out there. It is very kind of a surreal look, right?
Yeah.
But I think it blends enough to heighten. It's because at the end of the day, we're just making a stylized commercial, so does it hint at the fact that he's in that office space? Yeah, to me it does, and it feels lived in. It feels real.
Right. And, like, as we're watching through this too, like, I'll just talk a little bit about, like, obviously we try to inject humor into this. There's a couple of points that we wanted to make. One being that, people, I don't know why companies keep doing this, but they keep removing ports on things. Like, stop. No one's asking you to do that. Please stop. Don't do that anymore. I miss having a headphone jack. Like, no one asked for these things, and then they keep doing it. And I think Apple's probably, I think we could all kind of agree, like, one of the main abusers of doing that.
Yeah.
Not only that, but then, like, switching it to some, like, proprietary port that like you have to buy some new ridiculous dongle to use. So we wanted to inject some humor with that, So in the piece, like, what we did is like, what do? We put some gaff tape over the board that happened to kind of match the tone of the shade.
That was I still have my marks on here.
This portion here too.
We wanted to poke fun at the AI.
AI is such a hot button issue. I've seen people
in our industry.
I've seen people on like hard line on it, where they're like, if you use AI at all, like you are human garbage and I won't talk to you anymore. And I'm like, whoa, geez. Okay. Which, I mean, I can respect their opinion on it, I will say, like, I totally understand the sentiment that it's taking away human creativity. And, we try to inject fun with that, like it's, because a lot of people think of the AI that way, and it can be used that way, where it's just this magic button that you click and then instantly makes your thing better.
Yep.
You know, so I was very intentional with that shot, you know, of like, oh, like serious performance for serious designers. It's just that like childlike drawing of that car.
I mean,
Right.
it is funny, but there's some truth to it, right? Like there is some truth to it, right?
Right.
But I think, I mean, if we're talking about the bigger concept of AI, I mean, it's like, you know, at the end of the day, it is a tool, but I think we are poking fun at whenever there's new tech, people tend to like rush towards the easiest use case that then gets saturated with it. And it's like,
Right.
So this is just like any other tech that comes out. It's like, you know, people are just going to try to use it in that like the lowest common denominator form. I just want a result. Click, done. Right. But that's probably another debate for another day.
Right.
AI.
And
that's
then,
another episode.
I was able to fit in one more joke into the edits. We wanted to keep it at like 60 seconds, keeping it to a minute. So the last one was, or one of them, the other one was the no more, well, yeah, there was two of them, I guess, like no more charging
Yeah.
and no more like internal storage, which is just absurd.
Yep.
But like, I honestly, actually, like the no storage thing, I can see that happening.
Yeah.
I can see future PC or MacBooks or whatever, like
Totally.
not having internal storage, and it's a cloud only service. Like
Yeah.
Apple
would be the ones to do it too.
I have
They'd be the
nightmares
ones to
about
do
that.
it.
Right.
I mean, that is what, you know, what they do with their phone service and stuff too. I mean, like now we're getting in, this is going to be old man on a soapbox, right? But but it is those things, you know, with Apple, it's like they do the stuff with your phone where the cloud storage is, you know, uniquely like their tiers of cloud storage are tiered not to be compatible with the tiers of your phone. So it's like you have to buy the higher plan of storage because it's not compatible with your 32 gig phone or whatever, you know.
Right.
I'm now rambling about other
Old man
Christ.
rambling. It's okay.
Another
We need more
segment
of it.
for another day.
Cool. Well, before I jump into Unreal and show like the level and kind of like how we, you know, put this level together,
Yeah.
And some of the techniques, is there anything more like on lighting that you want to talk about?
I mean, I can, you know,
Yeah.
like ask me questions about it. I don't know what the audience would want to know.
So obviously, like, you know, having seen continuity between, you know, matching the sun position and getting the lighting correct, but there was like some like, you know, did we go too heavy with the flares?
Yeah.
Did we go too heavy?
Yeah.
yes,
Totally. Like that's intentional. Like it's kind of, you know, how we heavy-handed the joke of the Apple. It's like, yeah, I am heavy-handing the flare. like that was the intent. I was like, yeah, let's just make this thing a character in the story. I mean, it's like the second character of the place.
Well, I mean, we shot this on our Ari Mini LF and our Mercury anamorphics, and so using anamorphics, like, why not do flares?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's exactly. I mean, that's these things. I mean, those Mercuries are made to flare like that. I mean, that is what they do. So
you know, it's also
lean into it.
We've said this too, that like in before to clients, but like it's a blending layer.
Yeah,
you know, it just, I don't know, like when you see the light hitting the virtual background in a certain way, and then you see it kind of interact with the lens through a flare, it actually it just makes those realities feel real, like they're together. Yeah, you know, so it's a blending layer.
Well, and to add to that too, I mean, this was intentional. I mean, you knew that I was doing this, but right here, like the gag that I did with the flare to make it living or feel live, right? Not just be there for no reason. What I did was I put I don't even know what they're called, the little insert for the Lecos, right? I think they're like a cookie or something like that, right? Gobo. Gobo.
That's what it is, yeah.
Right? The Gobo.
Never heard
put in the Venetian cookies are like the bigger ones.
Oh.
A Gobo, like in the Leco, a source 4 adapter or whatever, for Venetian blinds, right? So I never had done this before, but I was like, you know, I think if I time that flare, I get the flare into the camera as we do the dolly push in, right? Like, what if I put the Venetian blind so it cuts it? So along the dolly move, it kind of flickers, like like it's going through some sort of blinds, or it's going in and out. Like I think that adds to the liveliness of the flare, and it gives it energy, and it becomes more than just a lighting artifact. It's an element of the story, you know?
Well, and also it makes sense, like physically, because the environment, because in the background there's these like glass windows, like right there, that shot, you can see like all those kind of like pillars. Yeah. And so as the camera's pushing in, like the angle of light, the attack angle of it would be kind of filtering through that a little bit. So I think that's what that intention was.
Yeah. And I literally lined it up, like I got it. That's why it's up on the top third there, right? See that? And why right there? I wanted it to cover his face up there because I wanted to fill the frame and be an element that we told with,
Yeah, it looks great for, 3 guys in an afternoon.
Yeah. And that was something I just thought of. I was like, hey, let's try it. I was just playing around today, see if that works. And I was surprised. I honestly think it worked really well.
Which is what's cool about this tech and this workflow is that, you go in with, a plan of execution, but you can play around in it. You can manipulate things. You can try things.
Another thing that I'm looking at that I like one, we planned this zoom, this was always intentional. And then the parallel, when we're in close-ups, I wanted to go back and forth, parallel movement. But I like this first shot where we start on it and we dolly into him. And we show that wide. And this is another thing I like too. When we did the reverse, if we're talking about virtual production here today and trying to hit some highlights of why this works for me or what's beneficial about this, I think one point that we can make is we do. What was cool for me is that we have this shot, but then we cut to the reverses of it. So watch right here. We see the floor, right? So we just flipped him around, and we're just looking into the screen now. But look at the environment there, the world. It matches and it feels because we'll show you later when we flip around in the scene that we were able to do the reverse of that shot and manipulate the look of that too. And I was impressed with how that cuts together. I wouldn't have even questioned. That's what's cool to me is that we can reverse the scene literally, but in the cuts, it feels normal and natural. It feels like he was in an environment. So,
well, we absolutely broke the 180 rule.
Yeah.
Yeah. But sometimes it has to be done.
I don't know if we really did.
We absolutely did.
What do you mean? Flipping?
Yeah.
Well, but not that's we broke.
Or am I misunderstanding it?
But when you edit, you can flip the 180.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think we did.
Well, how about we jump into Unreal? I've got the level pulled up here, and actually, let's put that up on the screen. And then, I gotta turn the logo down. And then, let's go full screen with this. All right, and I'm gonna apologize right now because we are still figuring out how to route all this. So there's gonna be an obscene amount of lag in this. Yeah. But this is our level in Unreal. Basically I found this on the marketplace and then kind of cannibalized it a little bit and added some things. And I'm going to walk you through kind of how I set this up because not every level just works with virtual production. So one of the biggest things we have to think about is performance. And obviously the more stuff you're putting in your world, the more complex the lighting, the more complex the objects, complex the shaders, the more processing that has to be done. And if we're thinking about performance, our level needs to run at least camera frame rate, at least that. And obviously you want to try and double that number so that you've got, some headroom to play around with. But anyway, and this is actually kind of funny. I'll show this real quick. So, we're using this Unreal Engine as a virtual background in our on our actual set. Yeah. But actually there's another virtual background within our virtual background. Right? So
yeah. Screens within screens.
Screens within screens. So this is
virtual production in the virtual world.
Back here, actually, I'll fly out real quick and show you. Is look at that? It's just a plane. It's just a big curved plane with it's just a city image on it and stuff. Yeah. And that's way more performant to do that than to actually try to build out all this geometry back here.
Yeah.
And that's another thing to think about with virtual production is, you only need to really build out what you're going to be seeing in the frame. That's why if you can have a shot list ahead of time, it's so powerful. You only need to build what you actually need to see.
Yeah. Yeah. I always talk about that too. It's at the end of the day, it's what looks best through the lens. If you're looking at the monitor and you can get that, it's the same concept of out in the real world, right? We're making the best set and thing so that everything that comes through that lens is looking the way we want it to. So, if that's a monitor behind us for a background or if it's a real background, it doesn't matter, That doesn't really make that much sense. But what's interesting, I was curious about the set. I'm just going to call it a matte painting, because I think that's that workflow, like in the real world, traditionally would be called a matte painting thing there. So like for that matte painting, like I kind of know the answer to this because I know you did this, but like I would ask you, like, how you made that, because I know that you built out the world and then took a snapshot of that, right? And then used that as a matte painting. Like you used Unreal Engine to build that world.
I did.
And then instead of having that unperformative world, right? Like you used Unreal's tools to build it out creatively, and then you take a snapshot of it, and that optimizes the level, right? Is that kind of like the theory there? Because you were just using it as a background mesh, like a matte painting.
Exactly, yeah. So there was another version of this level that had kind of that geometry, all like that cityscape built back there. I think actually I used the Brushify city pack, which is a great pack on the marketplace. But I used that to kind of quickly populate back there. And then I dropped in a camera and did a Pyra screenshot.
Yeah.
And then brought that into my performant level, and then just used that as a projection texture on this mesh back here.
Playing the mesh.
So
is that now, like, when you do that, how performative does it? Do you remember the numbers and stuff like that? Did it take it down, like frame rates? Is that what you're looking at too? Like frame rates reduction?
I don't remember the exact number that we got, but for what it was, but
it was probably a couple, right? Like I bet it was like
more
5 or 10.
It was more than a couple. It was oh gosh, I want to say it was something like 20 or something frames or more.
Yeah.
So it was quite a bit, actually, just reducing all that geometry back there. But yeah, this is kind of funny. Like what we're doing right now, like virtually, is exactly like what they, still kind of maybe do, not so much, but like definitely in like the 30s, 40s, and 50s.
Yeah,
matte paintings and stuff. So like we're doing that digitally inside of Unreal Engine.
Yeah, or like rear projection. It's probably like in the 70s and 80s and stuff like that. But
yeah, and then I'll quickly show this too. This might be kind of interesting, but let me find it in the level here. Maybe I'll just fly out and grab it. But basically, it is that. It's the stage. I'll kind of show how I set this up, the material, to give me some different controls, because that's something I do pretty often with certain materials. Is I'll let's go full screen with this. And then let's actually, this is the instance, right?
Yeah.
So I'll go to the parent here real quick. So for those of you who don't know Unreal Engine, but there's a system in materials where basically you can have like a master material, they call it, and then you can create instances of that material, so that you can have variations of it and do different parameters, such as like, I can increase the contrast.
And you can expose parameters within
parameters.
What's your analysis?
In your node network of how you set up. So I can boost the contrast, or I could make it more emissive if I wanted to, which wouldn't work in this case, but wouldn't be beneficial. Or I can increase the saturation. Ooh. But that's actually set up through, let's open this up and scroll out and take a look at this. So here is my node system for the material that I set up. So Unreal Engine has what they call blueprints. And it's a node-based system. And I'm kind of familiar with that, with working with like Blender and some other different programs that work in that same way.
DaVinci Resolve. It'd be, Resolve is a node-based workflow. Versus...
But I love it. It actually takes me back to being a musician.
Oh yeah,
and like guitar pedals.
Yeah,
like that's how I started. Like understanding that concept, at
like
least
routing and stuff.
Like chaining, signal goes in, gets affected by something, and then comes out a certain way. And depending on how you chain those things, you'll get a different result at the end.
Yeah,
it's kind of the same thing, same principle here. But basically, we've got our texture coming in. I'm running it into a power node, and then using that to control the contrast, using a multiply node to get the emissive, and then another one to get a desaturation stuff. So there's tutorials online that explain this type of stuff, but this is a pretty common setup that I do just to have at least like these controls for the material and stuff. Because that's the other thing too, is like you want to be able to make those adjustments pretty quickly when you're on set. If the director calls something out or whatever, you want to be able to get to that parameter quickly. So it's kind of nice, like building it this way, because I know that I have control.
Yeah. Like you're basically just setting the functionality for, because you know, hey, I want to expose these parameters data,
Right.
or you're taking a guess and saying, this is probably the stuff that we're going to be, controlling, like contrast and saturation
Right.
versus, emissive's on there, but like that, like, you maybe won't do emissive as much, but you're going to be doing contrast because that's part of blending with the wall and whatever.
Right. And that's actually kind of like an important thing to note with operating on an LED stage is, like typically I'm the one that's building those environments. So I'm also getting to think of that ahead of time of like, what am I going to need to be able to control and change quickly on set, without having to dig too far into the weeds or something.
Yeah.
So I kind of think about that in ahead of time as I'm like building this. Let's go back to full screen real quick. So so that material function, that's how that's set up. And then if I were to actually let's make this, let's come out here like this, and then I'll try like demonstrating some of that. So if I were to go to saturation and then just like, turn that off, you kind of saw the background updated a little bit. It kind of desaturated it, or I could go the other way. I could boost it, make some crazy colors. If you really want to go for that, like, I don't know, was that like a synth wave
Right.
background vibe? So yeah, we'll keep it at 1. The other thing that we can show, it's got saved. The other thing that we can kind of show that you don't really see a whole lot in a lot of Unreal Engine tutorials, specifically because a lot of people aren't talking about LED stages specifically. But what we use here is Unreal's built-in tool called nDisplay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, Carson, I'll let you kind of explain nDisplay.
Yeah.
Actually, why don't I
Give my nDisplay speech I give to everybody.
nDisplay speech that you give to everybody. And while you do that, I'm going to find it and open it up.
Should I go through?
Sure.
What
is nDisplay?
Okay.
For those who
I like opening up the nDisplay config in that world exactly like this. This is what we're looking like. Oh yeah, we are full screen here. Okay, cool. So like what we're looking at now is an nDisplay config. So like nDisplay, this is virtual production within Unreal Engine. Like this is Unreal Engine's way of putting, outputting their images to screens basically. So when you make an nDisplay config, that is virtual production in a sense, right? So what you're seeing here is a grid and like how that nDisplay works. So once you build all this framework, like within this nDisplay config, so what we've done is we measure out our nDisplay configure. Like it's all on a grid, so it's in meters. So we've made a mesh of our LED wall that we're sitting in front of here. So that mesh is like to scale of our wall. Then we place that into the scene and we measure it out in that grid. So like with a default viewpoint origin. So that's the point in the middle that references the point in the studio too, to where you set up tracking data as a 0 point, right? So everything's kind of based off that default viewpoint origin. So like once it's set up and scaled, everything should be projected from that point and with that distance. So when you're standing in the real world in the scene, it looks right on camera and it matches to scale. So, and then the cam tracking should update and adjust that world, and this perspective should all be the same. So basically, I like to call this nDisplay config like our window or our virtual representation of our physical space. So we're basically building out the dimensions of the studio,
like our actual physical studio that we're in
physical
right now.
studio, right? And then once you place that into the world, which Adam did, then that becomes our window into our virtual environment. So our wall then in our physical space becomes our window into our virtual environment, and then we can move that window around anywhere we want to be, and that's moving our background around, in our physical stage. So
right.
That is kind of nDisplay in a nutshell. Virtual production right there, right?
Yeah, and we use it on most shoots, but not for every shoot. But it's very important if you're going to have camera tracking.
Yeah.
Because you want to have that correct, where this camera is seeing from and projecting its viewpoint onto this mesh here, this wall mesh. It has that correct camera projection, and then you get correct movement and parallax.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes especially important, I think, when you're in interior scenes, where you have objects that are closer to you than they are physically in our real set. Because on set, usually underneath our softbox here in our studio, people are about, like 8 feet to 12 feet away, but based on force projection, right? Camera projection, that tree back there could look like it's supposed to be 3 feet.
Yeah.
And that'll work if you have camera tracking. It'll move it on the wall correctly to maintain that illusion.
Yeah.
But without it, it'll get broken pretty quickly to be able to tell that things aren't lining up.
Yeah.
So
another way I could put it too is that, like, that office scene, like, he's inside, and it's like, all those walls and stuff that exist in that world are, should be, technically like 5 feet, 6 feet away from him. Where, like, if that was the same shot, but like we were on top of the roof and then we were seeing like the buildings in the background only, then yeah, you probably could get away with like a plates workflow. So like the results, like your final product defines the workflow that you use, right? Like, do we need camera tracking for this scene that we're doing? Like, yeah, for this one we did, because he's in an interior office, and like I wanted to see some of that parallax of those elements in the background, because without that parallax, those moves that we're doing, you wouldn't see those chairs and all that office furniture moving towards him. It wouldn't create that same parallax, right? But if it was just those buildings in the background, we wouldn't create that anyways. So you don't need it,
Well, I think we can, I think we've covered quite a bit.
Yeah.
And obviously, people have questions, they can reach out to us and ask us. We're trying to demystify virtual production, specifically LED wall virtual production, because I feel like there's not a lot of resource out there for it.
Yeah.
And like what we do here is really cool. And so that's what we're gonna try and do more of this. Try and showcase, break this down. I am disappointed in one thing though.
Mitch,
you did not
performance.
No, Mitch is fine. He's great. He's a good sport. You have this whole soundboard, and we've queued up, and you did one, and we haven't gotten a chance.
I was trying to do Jeopardy.
I was hoping you would do more sound.
When you were like, hey, let me put I was looking for Jeopardy, and it didn't work. So I didn't want to overdo the soundboard, because then it turns into drive time radio.
Right. All right. Well, maybe there it is. There it is. All right. Maybe on the next one. So thanks guys for watching. See you next time.
Bye.